This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for Lessons Learned. Today I have a young woman on with me. Her name is Natalie Oden, and Natalie lives out on the West Coast, uh, born and raised there, correct, Natalie?
Yes.
So, for some of you listening, I don't want you to think, well, hey, Natalie has all these privileges living on the West Coast because now she's a model and an actress and getting very involved in the industry. Uh, because Natalie has a backstory that sort of shows that she had to claw her way to where she's getting today. So, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So, give our listeners a little background um, as to what it was like growing up in Hollywood, and is this where you really saw yourself ending up?
Well, I never grew up in Hollywood. I actually grew up in Fullerton.
Okay.
Um, what would you like to know?
Well, so, we have this, when you're from the Midwest, you have this picture of California that everything is Hollywood. Obviously, you corrected me, which I think was wonderful because it's not all Hollywood. It's a huge
exactly.
state with a little bit of everything. Um, but you grew up in an area and just like many people, but at one point your parents found out that you had a diagnosis of autism.
That's correct. I was diagnosed with it at 3 years old because they noticed how I was uh, really behind for a 3-year-old, like talking, walking, potty trained, stuff like that. And I was diagnosed with autism, and um, I guess what you call the psychiatrist that diagnoses you, they recommend I start school early at 3 years old. So I did. I started kindergarten at 3 years old, and then I started going through with the developments that I was lacking behind for at 3 years old, and then uh yeah, with autism, it's just been a challenge. I've always had trouble with math, science. I had trouble making friends at the time too, but I'm kind of a little bit more better on that now. Um, what else? Uh, trying to think what else.
What's your strong suit? What is it that you have the most passion for?
As of right now,
Well, either now or as you were growing up, was there something that you really, really liked and wanted to do all the time, sort of take
well,
away from the math?
actually, acting's always been a passion of mine since I was a little kid.
Okay.
So yeah, I always just like watching movies and TV shows as a kid, and I just imagining being a part of those stories. And I think that's when I knew that I wanted to act right away, and didn't really take off until I was maybe in college. I started taking acting classes, and with modeling, it kind of just started as a one-time hobby, like where I was doing this as a favor for my mom's friends and nephews from Mexico. He was a photographer, and he was looking for someone to just take pictures of. And my mom asked me as a favor. I said yes. I didn't think too much of it. Then after the photos came out, I really liked how I look. I was very photogenetic, and but it didn't really take off until I was maybe 20 or 21 years old. And with modeling and acting, it's basically helped me to just to live my life being out of the house more often, which is what this pandemic has been doing to me lately, is staying at home, and I want to get out more often. Um, but yeah, it's helped me communicate with people, to actually help me just doing something, just living my life. Trying to find best words to put it. But yeah, modeling and acting is just something that has just helped me to do something, make friends, communicate with people.
And for individuals on the spectrum, number one, I'm hoping our listeners understand the spectrum is a huge diagnosis. Okay. Not everyone has the same abilities or disabilities. Um, and that happens with even if you aren't on the spectrum, we all have specialties. I was terrible at math. I still am. Um, I'll ask somebody else to balance my checkbook because I can use a calculator and make a mistake. That's how bad I am in math. But there are other things that I know that I can do and I excel at. And that's where I put my time and energy. And it seems like you sort of did as well. Maybe when you were younger, it was more a dream in your head, but
Mhm.
it was something that you knew that, hey, when I get older, I'm going to sort of pursue this. Um, and the photo shoot sort of helped, I would assume, because it made you take a look and say, wow, look what I did, you know?
It did.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a like, modeling never really came across my mind when I was younger. I just didn't think that it would be for me, but when I did it as a favor, I'm like, "You know what? I think this is something I can do. I think this is something that I wanna pursue," and it still is what I still love doing.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the acting that you went to college, you took classes in acting. Um, what was it that you really found fascinating about acting?
Uh, I would say is basically, like, discovering yourself within acting, you would think, like, when it comes to acting, or at least what people would think in general, when they think of acting, they think, "Oh, it's just saying some lines." It's more than just saying lines. It's, like, telling the story, like, being the character, like, bringing something on whenever it's on screen or on stage or even social media in general.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, anybody can say the lines,
Exactly.
right? But if you don't put the right tone to those words, if you don't have the right expression on your face, if you don't move in a certain manner, um, it just becomes words.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I know there are a lot of individuals uh, that find acting, singing, dancing really helps them in their communication because sometimes the words do get stuck. And it's like, I can't find the right word for it when I'm talking to you, but I can surely find the right word if I write a song and I sing it. Or if I can act out a part, you're going to figure out who I really am, and I'm going to show it in that character as well. So, not growing up in Hollywood, how did you get to the Hollywood scene?
Uh, it was kind of like mainly through connections on through social media, like Facebook and sometimes Instagram. But like, I'm still on the journey as of like right now. I'm not there, but like I'm still, because of like connections through people that do work within the industry. Like, it's actually what kind of helped me like to get to where I am now than I was years ago.
Sure, absolutely. And that's another thing that the audience has to understand. It's all about networking and getting yourself out there, meeting people. You never know who the right person is. In fact, you could be talking to somebody on the street and think that they know nothing about the industry, and
Mhm.
they could be the, a lead producer for all you would know. In fact, that actually happened to me a couple of years ago after we started this podcast. Um, right here in Cleveland, I was in a Panera having a cup of coffee, and I had was working on my computer, and this gentleman walked over, and he had seen from the back what I was working on. And he said, "What are you doing there?" And I said, "I'm getting ready to do a podcast from here." And he said, "Oh, well, tell me about your podcast." And he invited himself to sit down at the table with me, pre-pandemic, so we were safe. Um, and as it turns out, um, he's a producer in Hollywood. He was visiting family, and he was so interested in what I was doing. He started making connections for me for our podcast. And my first reaction when he sat down was very uncomfortable, like, "Who are you? Why are you bothering me?" But at the other end of it was like, "Well, this is an opportunity to sell my craft to somebody." Maybe he'll listen to my podcast. And instead now he's sending me individuals to interview. So I love it.
That's good.
Yeah. And that's sort of what's happening for you as well, right?
Right.
So let's go back to that first opportunity with modeling. You
Mhm.
had no concept of that's what you wanted to do. And I've seen some of the pictures and it's like, you are a natural. Okay. Were you nervous about it or was it, okay, well, I'm just going to do this?
It's just something I was just gonna, I was just something I was gonna do as like as a favor because like at the time I had no intention of doing this as like as a passion or as a career wise. It's just gonna be like a one time thing at the time.
Okay. All right. So I know that you've been working with David Zimmerman. He is
Mhm.
a fantastic individual and has tons of contacts. Um, so how did you get connected with David?
I was through someone that I connected with online. It was like an acquaintance of his, and he introduced me to David, and he gave me David's number and also a website. I don't know if the website's still around, but yeah, there was a website for Meet the Biz.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yes, and then I just called David and I told him about myself and that I love acting and just went from there.
Well, he is one terrific person. Um, I met him through another podcast. And that's the exciting part of Zoom and podcasting that we get to meet people that we never would have probably met um, any other way. He's in California. I am here in Cleveland. Um, and especially right now, the pandemic has just kept us all a little isolated.
Oh yes,
So, how has that been for you this past year?
just really not good. Like my dad actually passed away from a heart attack due to the coronavirus.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. So you faced it head on.
Yeah, but it was just like February this year.
And so many people out there still don't understand about coronavirus. And all they have to do is just talk to one person who has lost somebody. Sadly, I've lost a number of very good friends and relatives myself,
Mhm.
um, and uh, it's surreal because
Yeah, it is.
none of us thought that this could happen to us. But your dad was one of your biggest supporters, wasn't
Oh
he?
yes, yes. He was he was basically the one that helped me to get where I am. Like he even like not just helped me like with contact with people online, but he helped me drive to get to the places where I needed to go when I was remodeling or acting or even just meeting up with people to do some type of project.
So now you're going to have to find other ways of getting around and doing all those things.
Exactly.
But
But
you're
I know it's something that he would want me to continue and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
absolutely. Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Just two sisters. They're twins.
Just two. Okay. Younger or older than you?
Younger.
So, what's it like being the older sister and having sister twins? And they usually say twins are very tight with each other.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, it's like the typical sibling relationships. You know, you have your good moments and your bad moments, but like when it's twins, like when it's twins against one, like they have each other's backs and I'm on my own.
Wow, but it does sound like you've got a very loving family and everybody is being supportive in your journey.
Yeah.
So, if you could imagine the part that you would really like to play, is there one theatrical part that you want to try for?
Uh, I guess for me, it would be the playing the villain.
The villain. So explain that.
I don't like, there's just something about playing the villain. It's just like really interesting. Like, it's just like, I don't know. There's just something about playing the villain. It's just like really, just seems like it's really fun. Just like being the bad guy, you know, just like playing the complete opposite of you is what I would say.
And that's interesting because you can get all that aggression out, okay, and then still be that smiling person that you are on the outside. So that's wonderful. So do you have any uh interviews coming up or any tryouts?
I do have another interview coming up in like the 21st.
Okay. That sounds good. And California is you're starting to get outside a little bit more out there, right?
Uh, yeah, but like still wearing masks, social distancing as much
Sure.
as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And is the vaccine available for you out there right now?
Yeah, I already got my first dose last month, and I'm getting my second one this month.
Very good. Very good. That's, that's what we all need to do to try to stay safe and hopefully turn this all around so that we can um, see you either on stage or in a movie or on TV. And then I can say, well, I knew Natalie when. That would be great.
I mean, like I know, like with some productions, they're already started filming like through while dealing with the coronavirus, and from what I heard, it's just really difficult to film.
I'm I'm sure it is. I know there are a couple of TV sets where the grouping they've had to live in a bubble while they're doing their episodes, and they say how difficult that is as well because they're away from family and friends, and even though they're doing what they love to do, um, they still would like to be able to go home at night, and
Yeah.
I get that. I'm pretty lucky I get to do everything remotely so I can stay in my house. So we want to wish you the best. Do you have any words of wisdom for somebody else out there who's saying, you know what, I had a rough childhood or school really wasn't for me?
Uh, as time goes on, once you come across a passion, like, and it doesn't even have to be like modeling or acting, it could just be about like anything. Like, you realize like you've actually like survived your trauma, your horrible childhood, the bullying at school. Like, you've come a long way, and once you come across your passion, just go for it.
And I love that you say that because I shared with you my son, he wasn't diagnosed till he was 6. So for the
Oh,
first 6 years of his life, we didn't see anything. He was this happy kid. He had more friends than I could even count. And he was always invited over to people's houses, and I was always told he is such a good kid. Um, and then in first grade, he got diagnosed because during a fire drill, because when the fire drill bell went off, he couldn't handle the sound of it, and he hid under his desk, and that was like the beginning of his diagnosis. That there were
I
some
had I had similar experiences with loud noises when I was little. Like some loud noises just like would just bother me, like balloons popping or
Yep,
dogs barking.
exactly.
So I can understand that.
And, you know, from that point on, once he was labeled, then he started getting bullied. But he just like you, he went to college. He fought his way through it. Did extremely well in the areas that he loved, and struggled through the areas that just weren't his best. But he got through it, and now he's living his passion. His passion happens to be sports. So
That's good.
um, you know, whether you're on the spectrum or not, if you can follow your passion, you're going to be happy. You're going to make it through.
Exactly.
So I want to wish you all the luck in the world. When you come to Cleveland, we'll have to get together. We're going to have to bring you here for something. We've got a great theater district, so maybe we can get you on stage here.
That'd be good.
I think so too. And our love to you and your family. And again, our condolences for the loss of your dad, because when I read your bio, I could really tell what a great guy he was. So
It was.
you are all in our prayers. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye now.
Bye.